Now on CoastTV News.
Construction cones and confusion. A Lewes beach improvement project now complete ahead of schedule.
Wetland protection bill questioned, why some say it could hurt the environment.
A neglected cemetery in Crisfield, what community members are planning next.
And we are dramatically, and I mean dramatically cooler, like 37 degrees than we were just yesterday. Or believe it or not, this is still where we're supposed to be for this time of the year.
This is CoastTV News at 5.
A reopened Lewes beach now with more sand. Good evening. I'm Madeline Overturf.
And I'm Charlie Sakaitis. We begin tonight with an improvement project at Lewes Beach now complete.
Closure signs are still up near both beaches in Lewes. Cones are scattered across beach parking lots in the aftermath of what's called a sand relocation project. Coast TV News reporter Emma Aiken live in Lewes. Emma, the city finished moving the sand almost 2 weeks ahead of schedule.
Maddie, if you take a look behind me, the parking lot is almost completely cleared of sand here. The city says they're finished moving 255 loads of sand off the parking lots and back onto the beach. As you can see, there is still some construction equipment here. The city says they still have to do some minor cleanups, but this was supposed to make the parking lots and beaches closed until April 10th. But the city saying today they finished this work over the weekend, meaning the beaches are now reopened. Cars parked at Savannah Beach in Lewes. A very different scene than you would have seen just weeks ago. An empty parking lot as the city worked to move hundreds of loads of sand off the parking lots and onto the beaches, especially in spots that had gotten really narrow. The city calling this long overdue, saying they hadn't moved sand like this since 2015. Yolanda Hudson and her husband say it was about time.
What I noticed is when we would come across, it would be like coming across ice, driving across ice pockets.
Hudson says she was worried that moving the sand and the beaches being closed would last months, but the city finished the project in less than 2 weeks ahead of schedule. The equipment can still be seen in the Savannah Beach parking lot. The city says crews still have to do some minor cleanup.
They do their best to kind of fight the weather and erosion and things, and it's a big tourist area, so I think they kind of have to, right? They have to do these projects to make it best for the long term, too.
The city says they do push sand off the parking lots and onto the beaches at the beginning of every season, but that this was a much larger, much needed effort. The city says they did need DNREC approval to cut back these dunes, but that moving the sand actually helped them reclaim some parking spots that were completely covered in sand. Reporting live here in Lewes tonight, Emma Aiken, Coast TV News.
Moving sand onto the beach is often associated with state or federal funds, but it's important to note this project was entirely city funded. Though Lewes did have DNREC approval, Lewes rented the equipment and staffed the entire project, costing about $100,000.
This brings us right into our Coast TV poll. We want to know, how are Lewes Beach closures affecting you?
Let's take a look at the results so far. You can see, well, 92% say no impact, 4% say change plans, 4% say annoying. That's one of the most kind of lopsided polls I think we've ever seen.
We'll see if that maybe would change once things get a little warmer.
Yeah, we'll
if you want to go vote in the poll, you can. The QR code was on there. It's not anymore, but you can go to coasttv.com or use our mobile app as well. Now let's go ahead and take a live look outside into Laurel. And by look, I mean there's a screen there. You can't really see what's going on as we check in with our first alert chief meteorologist, Paul Williams.
Yesterday we're setting records. Today we're sitting down, okay? I mean, we're at 40 to mid-40s right now in Ocean City, and we're going to continue to stay that way. Just to kind of give you a range of what's happening. Yesterday we got up to 84. That would be the tidal record for today. Today we got up to 64. As crazy cold as it may feel today, this is where we're supposed to be for this time of the year. And we dropped down to 46. Now we're holding at 45 in Lewes right now, 46 in Milton, as well as Georgetown, Gumboro, and Delmar. But we're probably going to go a little bit below that, but this is actually where we're supposed to be. But look at how much of a difference it is. 37 degrees. We are 37 degrees cooler now than we were at this exact same time yesterday in Georgetown. 33 degrees colder or chillier or lower than we were yesterday in Salisbury, and 29 Cambridge, 34 in Easton. Now the question is, are we going down even lower or are we going to rebound? I'll have that in full detail coming up in a moment.
In Delaware, the state regulates all tidal wetlands, which is water that has a current, like Broadkill River, and the marsh around it, but the state doesn't cover ponds and swamps. Senate Bill 9 would have the state cover all of it, which sounds good, but Republicans say, hey, not so fast. Coast TV News reporter Brandon Ferguson is live in Milton. Brandon, the bill has language which opponents say streamlines offshore wind projects.
Charlie, according to DENREC, 47% of the state's wetlands are here in Sussex County, just like right here off of the Broadkill River. Also unique to the county is offshore wind projects, like plans that call for cables to run from the Indian River Power Plant over the Indian River Bay to the inlet. Opponents of Senate Bill 9 say if the state does have full control of what goes on wetlands, that offshore wind projects becoming reality would happen a lot faster. Stephanie Hansen is the primary sponsor of Senate Bill 9. She says this is needed now because the state does not have a state freshwater wetlands program. Also saying the bill has nothing to do with offshore wind. Claims suggesting otherwise are simply false. But that's not the case for President Michelle Parsons of the 38th District Republican PAC.
One of it being the linear transmission lines, which is indicative of potentially offshore wind cables. So it seems like they are targeting, expediting permitting for through wetlands for offshore wind cables.
Right now, Senate Bill 9 is still in the very early stages. It still has to pass the Senate and the House before the possibility of it becoming law. Live in Milton, Brandon Ferguson, Coast TV News.
President Trump has fired another cabinet member. Pam Bondi no longer heads up the Justice Department. The move comes after sources say the president has been souring on Bondi for weeks.
NBC White House correspondent Monica Alba shows us how the sudden shakeup at the Justice Department unfolded and what may have led to the attorney's ouster.
Pam Bondi is out as Attorney General. President Trump announced the move today, posting on Truth Social that Bondi did a tremendous job and will transition to an important new role in the private sector.
I, Pamela Bondi, do solemnly swear.
She was one of the first cabinet members sworn in and has been a loyal ally since his first term. She was with the president just yesterday at the Supreme Court and for his address to the nation on Iran. But 8 sources said the president had been growing frustrated with Bondi because she wasn't delivering on his vision, such as not bringing successful cases against the president's perceived enemies, including New York Attorney General Letitia James and former FBI Director James Comey.
I'm grateful that the court ended the case against me, which was a prosecution based on malevolence and incompetence.
But the biggest misstep Bondi may have made was on the Epstein files. Bondi said this about a supposed client list last year.
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
The Justice Department later released a memo stating it had found no incriminating client list and no credible evidence of blackmail. That caused a huge backlash in the Trump base, many who believed there was a cover-up. It also cast renewed scrutiny on Mr. Trump's one-time friendship with Epstein.
I call it the Epstein hoax.
Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who used to be a personal attorney for the president, now will take over as acting Attorney General. And sources tell NBC News that Lee Zeldin, who currently heads the Environmental Protection Agency, is a top contender to take over the Justice Department. Monica Alba, NBC News, the White House.
8 months ago, community members in the city of Crisfield rallied around a cleanup of a neglected cemetery. Volunteers and donations flooded in to get the grounds in better shape. The city later formed a board to come up with a more long-term plan for the cemetery. Now members say that they're close to establishing a nonprofit, and that would allow them to accept donations, host fundraising events, and manage those funds.
Last year, we also found some other resources. We're looking for any resources you can to make this work, and the Somerset County Detention Center has an inmate crew. And I've talked to the assistant warden there, and he's willing to help us with that. We have to come up with the equipment, feed them, and all that sort of stuff.
The previous landscaper has also signed on to start cutting the grass again.
DMV on the go. That season begins today. The mobile unit will be in Sussex County 3 days a week, October 29th, 10 a.m. to 2. Each Monday it's at the Lewes Transit Center, Tuesday at the Cheer Center in Milton, Thursday at the Harbor Freight Shopping Center in Seaford. If you're not familiar, you can go to this mobile trailer for road exams, car inspections, driver improvement assistance, or uninsured motorist. Oh, that you still need to go to the DMV, but the DMV on the go, what you can do is get some address changes, more minor paperwork there.
Tidal Health says it's going to host Health Fest on Wednesday, April 15th. It's also tax day. At the Ocean City Convention Center, the event will run from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. According to Tidal Health, this year's free screenings and activities, they're going to include blood pressure checks and education, diabetes risk assessments, and testing and more.
Wicomico County sheriffs have some new wheels on the enforcement fleet. The sheriff's office is adding 5 new Ford Mustang GT patrol cars. The sheriff says they chose the cars to increase speed enforcement while costing significantly less money than a police pursuit Chevy Tahoe. Authorities also developing a specialized high-performance training course tailored to those new patrol cars there in Wicomico.
A piece of local history finally getting the recognition that it deserves in Crisfield, what it means for the community.
And we had crazy warm weather yesterday, cloudy and cold today, but what about tomorrow? Are we going farther down or more so up? Details coming up.
But first, a Georgetown art studio helping people heal through creativity. It's changing lives. Up next.
I Love Bad Art Studios opened their doors at the Palette Village in Georgetown last year, helping people with mental health and addiction issues express themselves through art. As Coast TV's Anna Sophia Rahman shows us, it's had a big impact on their community and ours.
Painting, drawing, and making jewelry. All that happens at I Love Bad Art Studio. John Warner, art director, says they recently opened up so the public can also go.
It's important to bring them in to express themselves and let some of the bad stuff come out, good stuff come out, and just talk and bond and have our own little community.
Scott Mead, who lives at the Palette Village, goes to the studio basically every day.
If I wasn't able to do art, I'd be like, I don't think I would even like this world. I'd be like, a world without art? I'd be like, no. You know, that's a terrible concept, you know. That's like a world without dogs and cats.
The art made here is actually sold to the community, and that money does so much more than most people can imagine.
They get 100% back. It's to give them encouragement. You know, show that their talent isn't going to waste.
Creating art with a purpose and encouraging those in need to keep pushing forward. For Coastal Connections, I'm Ana Sofia Roman.
I know today was uncomfortable because it was so warm yesterday, but the irony of that is that today is actually where we're supposed to be for this time of the year. Yesterday was the fluke. Today was the norm. Except it would have been nice to have a little sunshine. That would have been nice, you know. But we're at 45 degrees right now in Lewes, and we're going to stay in the mid-40s with cloudy skies staying persistent. In fact, that's what's happening. We're under a blanket of cloud cover, low-level cloud cover, and a good deal of moisture that's hovering over us. And it's shifting nicely, so we have advection happening, but it's not giving us any opportunity to see this thin out for us a bit. So we're going to stay cloudy for tonight as well, which is good, which means at least we won't dip much below from where we are right now. That's a good thing about having cloudy skies at night. Serves as a big old blanket keeping us nice and warm. We're at 46 degrees in Millsboro, Georgetown, and in Milton, holding at 45 degrees, not only in Indian River Inlet, Bethany Beach, Long Neck, and right here in Lewes. But look how much colder we are. That's why you're uncomfortable. We got totally spoiled with 2 days of 80-degree weather. Now we're back to where we're supposed to, and we're zapped back by nearly 37 degrees. So we're looking at sneezecast. We're going from medium to high for tomorrow. So the trees are going to be really bothersome, particularly as we're going to Saturday. But fog is going to be a concern too. Friday morning, we're going to wake up to some very dense fog. It'll be hard for you to even see as you're driving in the morning in Lewes, particularly Milton, Ellendale, Georgetown, Millsboro, as well as Seaford. That's going to continue to 7:30. Won't really lift until about 9 o'clock. Then we'll get a bit of a clearing that will occur. I wanted to give you the heads up on that. We're going to be brighter and warmer, 79 degrees actually for tomorrow, and 72 in Cambridge. And we'll have the winds out of the southwest and 77 in Snow Hill. So we're going to bounce right back up there. But remember, we're going to have foggy skies in the morning time. After that, we break loose and we start warming up very quickly. Now for Friday morning, we start off at about 57 degrees. Then we go up to the upper 70s, 78, and then we drop back into the 60s for Saturday, and we bounce back into the 80s again. Now, your car wash forecast, bottom line is this. Hey, we're going to be okay for getting your car washed Friday and Saturday, but Sunday, here comes another round of rain likely to occur, and that's when it's going to escalate dramatically for us on Sunday. Then we'll taper off going into the other days. And here's a look at Sunday. That slice of rain pulls through in the afternoon, evening, and it clears out by late night going into the morning time. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. Now, we're going to get warm on Good Friday, really warm on Saturday. Then we drop again a little bit on Sunday with the chance of rain. And then on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, particularly Wednesday morning and Thursday morning, we're going back to the good old nostalgic 30s. Charlie, did I package that away that you could like it now?
You know, Saturday looks nice. A historic step in preserving local African American heritage. It took place in Crisfield. Community members gathered at the Asbury Colored Cemetery this afternoon for an unveiling of new signage. The sign was placed by the Somerset County NAACP to honor the lives and legacies of those that are buried there. Reverend Charles Bagley says that the sign will help show the location as well as the significance of the cemetery.
When we came down on our Black History bus tour, of course, we came down and we came to this cemetery at this location, but it was no indication as to where it was.
Organizers say they hope efforts like this will bring awareness to historically overlooked sites and inspire future preservation projects in Somerset County.
Coming up tonight on the Delmarva Sports Network at 4:15, we were showing Cape and Lopen at Delmar baseball, and then the final score is 10:30. And on 7 on DSN Plus, a boys lacrosse battle, Smyrna at Dover.
Coming up, a road in Laurel facing more traffic. Why neighbors say it's an issue. Stay tuned on Coast TV News at 5.
A public dirt road in Laurel has some folks sounding the alarm about safety. We're showing you 11th Street. It's an unpaved road sandwiched by West Street and Van Buren Avenue. Now, it is a public street, but usually it's just been used by people who live off that dirt road. Now, neighbors say GPS routes are sending more traffic through that road, and they want to see some changes.
One, to fix it up a little bit where it's not quite as many potholes and different things like that coming through, or put some sort of a sign up that says residential area, no through traffic, something along those lines. It really helps because, as I said, we've had a couple very close misses.
Now, we did reach out to town leaders about whether or not there are any plans for the road. No comments yet at this time. As we take a live look outside into Dover, just kind of a gray Thursday. We'll have one more check on your forecast after this break. Easter is Sunday, in case you forgot, and if you would like to start your Easter Sunday with music and conversation, please join us for this year's Sunrise Sermons, Crown Him King. You can watch our special this Sunday at 10:30 a.m. here on Coast TV. But if you're up before that, all of our sister stations and radio stations have it on the times you see here on your screen.
Coming up new on Coast TV News at 6, the Indian River Sand Bypass System. How much money was secured to continue its operations?
Right now, we're operating under 46 degrees instead of 80-something, so we're much cooler and much cloudier, to be quite honest. But we're going to stay in the mid-40s thanks to the same cloud cover that shielded us from the benefit of the sunshine during the day will help us at night to stay at least a little bit comfy. We do have a small craft advisory active for the Chesapeake Bay area, but the cloud cover is going to stay pretty persistent and consistent for the rest of the evening. Thomas Bowen of Sharptown, Maryland, you're our new Paul Davis umbrella giveaway winner, courtesy of Paul Davis, property restoration experts. Keep up with your forecast by calling our weather line. Sponsored by the law offices of Bruckstead, Mandalis, and Federico. Your forecast is just a call away. And here's a look at your exclusive 10-day forecast. Well, good news is this. Today was uncomfortable and chilly, but guess what? The next couple of days are going to be mighty fine, 78 and 81 degrees before we run into another round of rain on Sunday. And then pull your coats back out for next week, folks. I know you don't want me to hear me say that, but that's the way it is.
All right, Paul, thank you, and thanks for joining us here for Coast TV News at 5.
For more news, more local weather, download our Coast TV News app.
Inside Edition is up next.
And we'll see you later tonight for Coast TV News at 6. Have a great evening.